Dennis and I both recently shared exactly, and I mean down to the exact cent, how much money we have across all of our different bank accounts. Now we want to share what those different bank accounts are, like checking accounts, savings accounts, and investment accounts, but also what banks or online platforms that we have those different accounts with. We've also recently made some changes, so we're going to cover those too. This will be like a little peek into exactly what we do with our money, where we put it, how everything flows together, basically like an overview of what our overall banking system looks like. I also feel like videos like this are helpful because it could be like, yeah, I know that I'm supposed to have an emergency fund, I know that I should be investing my money without paying high fees, all of that, but what actual accounts could I be using and what platforms could I be using? Now, I'm not saying that you should use the exact same ones that we do, but at least it's like a real life example that you can use and then do your own research from there. I also feel like it's fun to be and kind of entertaining to be nosy and see exactly what someone else is doing with their money. At least I feel like it is, and you probably agree if you clicked on this video. So I think we should just jump into it, starting with our checking accounts. And I want to say that we're going to be covering both mine and Dennis's account. So let's get into it. Now, both Dennis and I use our checking accounts as like a money hub. So basically where our income gets deposited into and then where our bills get paid out of. Now, I don't like to keep too much money in there because typically checking accounts don't earn any interest. So your money's just sitting there doing nothing for you. But on the other hand, I do want to keep enough in there to make sure that all my bills can be covered. So my rent, it comes out automatically of my account on the first of the month or near the beginning of the month at least. I also want to make sure there's enough in there to cover my automatic internet and hydro bills that come out about mid-month. And then I also want to have enough to pay off my credit card consistently throughout the month as well. So at any given time throughout the month, other than payday of course, I'd say I have between $2,000 to $5,000 in my checking account, $5,000 definitely being on the high side, and Dennis is the exact same way. Now in terms of what account we actually have, I actually have a fun update for you guys because I just opened up a new and switched to a new checking account after talking about switching for literally 3 years now. I went back and saw in an old video, which is just ridiculous, but I finally got around to it. So I'd had a TD Bank checking account for my entire life, and it's the same bank that I had all my different accounts at. So checking, saving, and investing, even a credit card up until a few years ago when I learned that you don't just have to use one bank for everything. It's kind of like how you wouldn't buy shoes, bathing suit, clothes, jewelry, underwear, all of those different things at one store. You probably have a different store that you prefer for each of those items because they excel at that one thing. And even if one store offers all of that, it doesn't mean that you're going to buy them all there just because they offer it. It's pretty much the exact same things with banks. Even if a bank has a really good checking account, it doesn't mean that they're going to have a great savings account, or if they offer a great credit card with good perks, it doesn't mean they're going to have other good money-related products. Okay, so back to me. I had this checking account forever, and the main reason that I wanted to switch is because TD Bank has no fee account options. Basically, every different checking account that they offer either has a monthly fee or you have to keep a specific minimum balance in your account in order to avoid the fee. The problem with that is you're missing out on the opportunity to make money on your balance somewhere else. So I officially opened up a Simplii Financial no-fee checking account, which is exciting. It's also the exact same checking account that Dennis has been using for at least 5 years now. He really has been loving it because it's simple. Obviously, there's no monthly fee like I just mentioned. And on top of that, because Simplii's associated with CIBC, which is another one of the big 5 banks in Canada, you still get all the same like benefits or perks that you would if you were using the big banks. It's not even the most important piece, but like if you did want to go to an ATM, you'd have access to all of CIBC's ATMs. Now, what pushed me to finally open up a Simplii account right now, because I'd been meaning to do this for a while now, but what gave me like the final push over the edge is that they have a promotion going on where you can get $400 if you open up a checking account with them, and then also if you set up direct deposits, which you probably would anyway for your paychecks into your checking account. So I'm kind of winning on both ends. I no longer have that $3.95 monthly fee that I had with my old checking account, which is nice to get rid of, but on top of that, I'm also getting an extra $400. And the Simplii account's been great so far. I think I've had it for just over a month now. They sent me a debit card in the mail, so I have that if I need it. The app's pretty simple and easy to use, so it's been smooth sailing so far. So now Dennis and I both officially have Simplii Financial no-fee checking accounts.
All right, guys, so now it's time to cover our savings accounts. So we both use savings accounts for 2 main reasons, with the first one being to hold our emergency funds, and the second one, at least for right now, is to buy real estate, which I'll go over here in a second. Now, having an emergency fund really is important to the both of us. This is something that I've definitely talked about before, about how I had to use my emergency fund a few years ago in order to cover a really expensive tooth emergency. But to give you guys the backstory, basically what happened is I chipped my tooth really badly, and then I actually had to go into my emergency fund and use some of that money to cover the cost. Now, this is why having money that's in readily accessible cash that we don't touch unless it's an actual emergency is really key. We both keep $10,000 in our emergency fund, so that's $10,000 each that we won't touch or spend on anything else. And also we keep our emergency fund in a high interest savings account. And I've already mentioned this before, but it's really important to keep that money in readily accessible cash. So basically what that means is that you want that money available to you to use and spend if you need it. So you want it available basically at any time. It would really suck if you had your money in investments and you had to wait, let's say like 3 business days in order for those investments to sell off, in order for you to have access to that cash. We've actually been using EQ Bank as our high interest savings account of choice for years now. We found that their platform is just super user friendly and really easy to use. And on top of that, we found that they've actually been able to keep and hold high interest rates over the years, which is really awesome. However, we did recently move that money that we had in our EQ Bank high interest savings account over to Simplii Financial's high interest savings account. Now, the reason we did this is because they currently have a promotion of 6% interest for 5 months. So what's gonna happen after those 5 months are up is that we'll likely switch back to using EQ Bank. Now, what's really great about EQ Bank is that they don't have any minimum balances or any fees at all associated to their accounts. So what's really great about that is that we'll be able to transfer our money out and back in without having any issues. Now, the other money that we have sitting there is pretty much just there for the purpose of buying real estate. If we weren't planning on buying real estate, we would literally just have our $10,000 emergency fund, and then the rest of that money would be used put towards our investing. Once again, we are really focused on long-term investing, so that's pretty much where we would direct any additional funds. Now, given the fact that we are planning on buying a house or a property within the next year or so, we have put some of that money aside in a high interest savings account so that it's at least earning some interest, but more importantly, it's readily accessible for us for when we do decide to use it or tap into it. So now what me and Steph do is we just keep our emergency fund and all of our other savings all together in one account. I know that there's people out there who prefer to have separate savings account that they'll separate off based on the purpose that they're using those accounts for. So I just think it's important to note that that is an option for you if you want to go that route. But for us, we just kind of loop everything all into one bucket and into one savings account.
Next up is our investment accounts, which is my personal favorite category, so let's get into it. The first thing I want to cover is like our investing philosophy, I guess I'll call it. Both Dennis and I are focused primarily on long-term investing for retirement, and on top of that, we also believe in passive investing. So we're not investing in single stocks, instead we're solely investing in ETFs. Our main priority is maxing out our TFSAs, or our tax-free investment accounts. Now, I maxed mine out earlier this year, which is really exciting, and Dennis is still working on maxing his out right now. And then after that, every single year when we get more room to add more money into the account, that'll be what we prioritize at the start of the year. So to sum that up so far, we both are investing in ETFs within our TFSAs. And then I also recently started investing within my FHSA, which is the first home savings account, and I'm buying ETFs within that account too. Okay, so now let's get into what platforms we use to invest. For me, from January 2021 until December 2023, so pretty much exactly 3 full years, I was using Wealthsimple Invest. Now, Wealthsimple in general is an investing platform that's been around for pretty much 10 years now, since 2014. And a few years ago, when Dennis and I were trying to figure out what would be the best investing platform for me to use, this was back when I was still using TD Bank's investing platform and I wanted to switch, we ended up going with Wealthsimple. It was pretty user-friendly and easy. It's in the name, right? Wealthsimple, I found that to be true. It's simple. The app's really easy to use and makes everything super straightforward, which I really appreciate. There's also minimal fees. Pretty much everything that made me want to start using them in the first place 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago now, is still true today. I did, however, at the beginning of this year, switch from using their robo-advisor, which is Wealthsimple Invest, like I mentioned before. I now use Wealthsimple Trade, which is their DIY or self-directed platform instead. So I'm now using Wealthsimple Trade for all of my investing. It's the only investment platform that I use, and I have both a TFSA and FHSA on Wealthsimple Trade that I buy ETFs with myself. Now, I do want to mention that they have a lot of really helpful automations with this platform that make it a lot easier and less manual for me. Basically, what I do is I have it set up so that I'm automatically funding and contributing to my investment account with $2,000 every single month. And then after that, I have it set up to buy $2,000 worth of ETFs with that money every month too. So basically, it's setting up recurring contributions and purchases of these ETFs too, which again, just makes it so that I only have to set it up one time. There's no more manual work, and it's really easy and automated, even though it's a DIY platform. Now, Dennis actually uses a platform called Questrade to invest. invest. It's also pretty easy to use. It has fairly low fees too, and that's what he's been using for also about 3 or so years now. But his update is that he's actually looking to switch to using Wealthsimple himself as well. Now, the biggest reason for this is, like I just said, regarding all those automations. He right now with Questrade has to manually himself purchase his ETFs every single month, which isn't the biggest deal. It's not like it's that hard to do for the setup that we have, but considering that Questrade also has a little bit higher of fees, again, they're pretty low fee. It's not the biggest deal, but considering those two things together and considering that he might want to switch at some point, he thinks that he just might as well do it sooner rather than later. But he has liked Questrade overall, so it's not like it's been a bad experience. That's just why he's thinking of switching. So for now, I use Wealthsimple Trade to invest, and Dennis uses Questrade to invest, but we'll likely both be using Wealthsimple Trade in the near future.
Okay, so last up, we need to touch on all of the other things that are part of our money system, but are outside of just our bank accounts. And the first thing I want to start off with is our credit cards. We both happen to have the same card at the time, which was just the TD Bank cashback credit card. Now, Steph still has this card right now. We'll talk about what happened to mine here in a second. But a few years ago, what we did is we actually went through an exercise where we were looking into how much cashback we were actually earning from our credit cards, and it turned out to be literally like nothing. Now, I guess not literally nothing, but it was such a low amount of money. It was a bit ridiculous, especially given the fact that at this point, we'd had the cards for at least 5 or 6 years at that point. So you would have assumed that we would have at least earned or had been earning a good amount of cashback dollars. But the reality was the fact that this card it wasn't the best for this purpose. So if we fast forward to now, we actually currently have a few different credit cards that we use. But before I even get into like the details, I do want to preface that we're not necessarily like the most into credit cards as some other people might be, you know? Like I know there's people out there who are really into credit card hacking and credit card churning. For us, our main goal is just to get the best benefits and the best rewards and the best perks that we can for the spend that we're already doing on our current credit cards. Basically, our goal is to keep it simple. So to kick things off, Steph has the Neo Financial Cashback credit card, and that's a credit card that we both really, really like. We use it every single week for our groceries, and Steph also uses it for other shopping purchases that she has. And the really great thing about Neo Financial is that they have a lot of really great partners. So when she is doing some of those one-off shopping items, you will find that she will get more cashback dollars on those items. Now, I do also want to mention that we do have a link down in the description box below if you guys want to check out the credit card. And yeah. Now, last year when we started doing more traveling, I actually ended up getting the TD Aeroplan Visa Infinite credit card. So basically, I kind of alluded to this earlier, but basically what happened was my former cashback credit card, I basically upgraded that credit card and it ended up getting this new travel rewards credit card where I would be able to earn more Aeroplan points. So if you're wondering what Aeroplan points are, basically those are just specific points for the airline that we would typically fly with. Basically what we'll do is we'll use this credit card for anything that's travel related. So whether that's booking flights, hotels, or any other purchases where it just makes sense based on like our points ratio, where it makes sense that I'll be earning the most points by using this actual credit card versus another one. Now, we also plan on getting one more credit card soon, and that's the Amex Cobalt card. And I feel like this is one of those credit cards that people are always asking us about, and we actually did mention it in one of our pretty recent previous videos, but basically to me, this is like the solid, just everyday spender card. And I think that a lot of people would benefit from this, especially younger people who are spending in certain categories. I feel like there's just a lot of benefits based on their point structure. So for example, I believe you earn like 5 times the points on, drinks and eats, which includes also groceries, 3 times the points on streaming services. So any subscriptions that you might have, 2 times the points on travel and transit. And then I believe it's like 1 times the points on what else? On basically like everything else. So if you look at their entire lineup, I feel like a lot of people are just really curious about American Express in general. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there who kind of get fooled by the gold and the platinum just basically based on them being gold and platinum. The Cobalt card is one of those cards that's just a really solid card. And I think for us, given the fact that we are spending in some of these categories anyways, if we can earn like 5x points just going to the grocery store, then like, why wouldn't we do it, Anyways, this is one of those cards that we're definitely going to be adding to our lineup. So as it stands right now, we have the TD Cashback credit card that we pretty much rarely use, if ever. We have the Neo Financial Cashback credit card. We have the TD Aeroplan card that I won't say the name because I'm gonna mess it up, but we have that card. And then pretty soon we're also gonna have the Amex Cobalt card as well. Now the last thing that I wanna touch on, and it's probably one of the most important ones, is our budgeting tools. So we used to use the Mint app, but that shut down, I think, earlier this year. Now what we use is actually our own budgeting template. And if you guys are interested in using it, we've actually been using it over the last few months and we've shown you guys how we've used it. So if you're interested in it, it is free. So if you want to check it out, we're gonna have a link down in the description box below, or you can just head straight to our website, stephandden.com. Now we want to know what bank accounts you have and why. So make sure you let us know down in the comment box below. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out our previous videos next. And we will be back next week with another video you guys already know. See you then.